Welcome to Wayward Writers. I'm senior literary agent and author Heather Cashman.
I'm author and writing coach Stephanie Bearce.
And I'm author and writing coach Nicki Jacobsmeyer.
Our mission is to nurture and enrich established writers throughout their publishing journeys.
We welcome all genres, age groups, and publishing paths through video podcasts, online webinars, in-person retreats, and more.
We're here to help you conquer your path.
Welcome to part 2 of the 6 P's of Wellbeing on your publishing journey with author Danielle Render Turmaud. Danielle is an agented kidlit author, trauma therapist, published academic author, expert blog author for Psychology Today, experienced professor, and international presenter, speaker. Danielle is also the host of You, Me, and the Writing Journey podcast, the hashtag You Deserve PLT pitch event, and the Take Your Kid to Publishing Day children's publishing event. We're going to pick up right where we left off from last week.
The more we listen to ourselves, our bodies, our emotions, our thoughts, the more that why will become a more natural thing for us to pay attention to. Because the body is going to do what the body is going to do. If something feels threatening to it, it's going to just tell us we shouldn't do it. Whether that's, like I said, exhaustion or something else linked to trauma triggers or anxiety or whatever it is. But we need to ask ourselves, what's the why there? And that's when we'll know, okay, how do we respond to this? Do I just need to dive in and do something that I love and that'll bring this part of me back to life? Or do I need to take a few days because I'm grieving a painful past that happened recently or whatever it is?
That makes sense.
But I'm curious to hear all of your thoughts. That is my experience, my perspective from where I sit in the world. But what about all of you? What do you think about that?
I don't think that I have stepped back enough from this type of... Okay, literally, I just had one of the dearest people in my life passed away on Wednesday. And I'm still working every day. I'm still working 8, 9, 10 hours a day. And I'm like, I find myself like staring off into space or just starting crying. Like, I'm obviously not sitting with my feelings like people have suggested that I do. And I always feel like people are going to be disappointed in me, or I'm going to let somebody down, or I'm not going to be able to be successful in some way. I think it's more like a sense of when you tell people that you're going to represent them and you're going to do everything you can to sell their books. And I have clients who know that. I have clients who know this and know that I'm trying to take time off and are still asking me things, asking me to do things. So it's like, I guess I have a hard time advocating for myself because I do feel this obligation, this sense of obligation. But last night my husband was like, we're going out, we're going to go to the place. And we just went to this pub. We went to this Scottish pub in this little town near where we're at. And it was brilliant. And we played pool and we had amazing food, and they sold poutine, which I haven't had since I was in Canada. And literally on the way home, I was like, this was like one of the best moments of my life because I let myself just not worry. I was like, I need this. I need to take this for myself. And it felt good to take something for myself. So I don't know. Maybe I need to just be a little more selfish.
Yes, you do.
And
we give you permission to do that.
Thank you so much for sharing all of that, Heather, and sending you a lot of care. Grief is being somebody who's has end-of-life family members right now, just sending a lot of care. I also think about how powerful it would be for every one of us. Like, I think about the third P, which is pause, where what if... I think one of the things, especially like I said, I'm coming from a United States cultural perspective. There's a lot about reacting versus being proactive. Like, we wait until things are painful or hard or whatever it is until we are burned out to do something. What if we took moments like what you just said, that beautiful moment at the pub with your husband, the connection and the fun and the good food? What if we did that regularly? And the way in which that would resource us proactively. So then those really challenging times of life, whether it's waves from just life situations or waves from the industry, our nervous system will have more capacity versus waiting until we're and being reactive. And that's something that I've been trying for myself and my clients to talk about is and to reframe is if we make the pauses and the resourcing an active part of our life versus a reactive, it can be really powerful for our
Maybe we all need to move to France.
having a husband who is French and they have like I think they're mandated like at least 5 weeks. Some people have 10 weeks of vacation
Oh,
a
yeah.
year. It's
Europe
a
has
beautiful thing.
definitely got it right. Yeah, they close down for lunch. Like the whole business is closed down. It's amazing. They go and be home with their family. They sit down. I mean, how many people sit down with their family unit for a
Some
meal?
countries have nap time, and I'm like, me,
Oh, right.
please.
Where?
I'd love nap time every day. Yeah.
No, I totally agree with that, Danielle. I feel like being still is something I try to remind myself, especially when things are bad. But I agree, there's times in my life where it was a reaction. I wasn't proactive and it was disastrous mentally. And I remind myself now if you don't stop, that's going to happen again. And I think it's always great when we as writers and humans have a support system, especially when it's your writing, like having other writers in your life that you trust for them to say, hey, stop, be selfish. I know Stephanie and Heather and I are that way. And we were, before we started this podcast. And I think that's one of the reasons we came together because we support each other, but we're also like, no, you're not allowed to work on this today.
Mm.
I'm changing the password. I mean, it's sometimes you need permission to take care of yourself, which is crazy. But
Speaking of that, Nikki, so we notice when our friends need a pause. How, Daniel, are there certain signs that you tell your clients that, that they might look to? I mean, you're checking in with your body, but what are some of the signs that a person does need to take a pause?
If I can, Stephanie, before I answer that, I do want to clarify too, pause doesn't just mean silence either. So I want to like clarify for people what pause means because a lot
Yes.
of times people will just think it means like go sit and be still. Actually, that can be really triggering and traumatic for some people, being a trauma therapist who specializes in that. So like when I say pause, I mean doing things that are resourcing. So for some people, it might be what you were saying, Nikki, of like, I just need to sit in silence for a little while. Or other people, it might be go on a walk. I love to box and run. Sometime for some people, it might be going to the pub, like Heather was talking about, and having a fun time, like doing things we enjoy. It can be spending time with our loved ones. It can be watching a movie that makes us laugh. I mean, there's so many things
mhm.
that are resourcing. And so I just wanted to clarify, like, for what pause means, because I think that's probably a helpful context.
Yes, I think it
I
is. Thank you.
Yeah, I think for each of us, we have our own warning flags for when our nervous system is starting to get stressed out, go into stress response, get overwhelmed. But I can just give a list of really common ones for a lot of people, whether that is fatigue and exhaustion, headaches, stomach aches and digestive issues, feeling like you're in a fog, having a hard time thinking or focusing, when you're starting to not want to do the things you usually want to do, or starting to feel like a little bit more anhedonia, where you just don't enjoy things the way you used to, when you're starting to deal with more irritability, frustration, anxiety, feeling more depressed or down, when emotions are starting to feel bigger and louder and come in stronger, when you're not wanting to be around your people as much, we're starting to want to withdraw. And I don't just mean introversion time, like in resource time. I mean, like you're starting to really pull back because it's too exhausting to people. And there's so many more, but those are a lot of really common examples that honestly, like generally people's bodies will go to because our body starts to go into a check engine light. Like I'm sending you all these signals, headaches, stomach aches, all these things, trying to tell you something's off. or our body's starting to go into I need to conserve energy, and that's like examples of when people are like I want to sleep more, or I don't want to people because it's too exhausting, or whatever it is. Our brain and our body starts to send lots of red flags to us, and the more of them, it also means the more seriously we need to take it, and the longer it can take to get our nervous system back to a resourced space, because if we continue to deplete ourselves, it just takes a little bit more effort to fill the tank up. So like Nicki was so beautifully saying, if we take that proactive approach of listening daily or weekly to how our body and brain and mental health is doing, then we're able to take it one step at a time versus feeling like we're having to refill an entire battery that's been depleted for years and never really had the capacity to be cared for. And I also know all of this is a lot easier said than done. So just wanting to name that. Yeah. No,
Okay.
it's a lot easier to talk about than to do. And I really I see caring for ourselves as a journey. Every day looks different, every moment looks different, and that's okay. And I literally being a human who, like I said, I live with complex PTSD and OCD neurotype, I will live the rest of my life figuring myself out and figuring out how to care for myself in each moment and every day. It's not an easy journey, but it's worth it.
Well, and I'm sure as your life changes, that changes too, right? I take care of myself much differently living in an RV than I used to living in a house.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
just like even small, well, I guess that's a big life change, but I mean, like even a single life change can make you need to rethink the way you do things.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Stephanie.
I was just going to say, so we've kind of covered that our pause P, and we're looking
Yeah.
at our next P, which is patience. Know that the publishing industry is a marathon, not a sprint. Boy, isn't that true? And find ways to be in the waiting, which
Ooh.
is the bulk of the time in this industry.
I
Okay,
hear that
I will
groan and
let
I
you in
understand it.
here.
Frequent
There's a lot
flyer
of
members on the
waiting
waiting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, goodness. So, why is patient so vital in publishing?
because we're
Sorry. You guys are getting my big laugh
Oh,
coming out. Yeah, because we can't be in an urgency state all the time, right? And again, being an OCD neurotype where urgency is my baseline, I'm real good at that. That urgency will burn us out so fast. Have to find a way to be in the waiting and in the patience.
but then
Yes.
there's sometimes there is this urgency, right? You're
Mhm.
like going
Mhm.
along and you're like, okay, I'm good. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, I need this in 24 hours. And it's, oh, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Okay. Again, goal oriented. I'm not going to say no, right? Because this might be whatever. You know what I mean? It's just,
Yeah.
it's kind of funny. It's like that hurry up and wait. It's like traveling
Yes.
by
Yes.
plane.
I think the patience is one of those things that you really have to develop it.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
we can always be on that go, 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 and oh my gosh, it's just not happening fast enough. And I guess one of the things that I have learned that has helped me so much with it is instead of waiting, I consider it breaks in
Mm.
between. And I try and fill those breaks with more writing. Like I finish something and okay, I've got this done. Now I can do this. And so that's what I've tried to reframe that the waiting into opportunity for creativity. There is a lot of waiting, but if I didn't have that waiting and that space, I wouldn't have the time and the ability to create new. And
It's a good point.
so that has helped me in looking at the waiting. So I've got something on sub, great, that's wonderful. Now it's time for me to make the next thing that
Yeah.
needs to go on sub. I
It's
don't
that
know,
Well, then
Nicki, how do
perspective.
you?
I can give you an example of how being patient is actually beneficial to
Yes,
a
please.
writer. This is just an example for picture books. I have one picture book on sub for a client. I can sub that picture book to like 30 places. And if I really think that picture book is going to sell well, that will likely turn into an auction. However, if the client is impatient and they want me to have 5 of their picture books on sub at a single time, then I can only send that picture book out to say 5 or 6 people, or maybe even less, because there's all these rules with the imprints and
Mhm.
who can have it and who can have it when. And if you can even sub it after you've subbed it to this one place. And it's very complicated, and there's all these rules and they're different for every publisher. So let's say I have this book, but they already have 4 books on submission, and I know that this is their most marketable book. Guess what? I will never get that auction because I can't submit it to 30 editors at a time because there aren't 30 slots available for that author. And so, unfortunately, we are fettered by these rules. Like, that is just the reality of it. And it doesn't matter who you are. If you break those rules, you will burn bridges, and editors will be like, this person is so inconsiderate, I don't even want to work with them. And I have 50 other books that are just as good. So guess what? I'm not choosing you. And so I think that, yeah, we want things to happen fast, but at the same time, we don't see the advantages that you're missing out on by being so impatient.
And Heather, that goes back to that very first P, that perspective, the publishing industry and having a perspective on it too. So I love this, Danielle. It's all flowing together.
And Stephanie, you talked about the perspective earlier too by talking about how you sit there and think, okay, if I had a launch right now and I was having to do all of the book meetings and go to schools and stuff, then maybe I wouldn't be able to write as much and get these other heart stories out. So yeah, it really is. It's the perspective, and it all goes together. And you said earlier, Nicki, that was really good. That is one piece that I think is important with this patience, which is, or the waiting, which is find things we can control. And Nicki, like doing things that are within your control, whether it's like on your spreadsheet, writing things down of like, okay, this looks like it's a pass, so I'm going to put a pass for myself. Or whether it's something that I've been doing is like going to workshops that allow me to do, as long as it's financially like an option, that allow me to do external submissions with editors while I'm being on submission. Whatever it is, psychological research actually shows one of the factors that causes the most stressful situations for humans is a lack of control. This industry, we have so little control. And so finding little ways that we can give our nervous system some control in our lives and our journey is really important for our nervous systems because we're wired to feel threatened by lack of control. So if there's ways that we can find a little bit of control, it'll help that waiting not feel so unbearable.
No, that's true. That's true. And I know Heather has, for me, very kindly told me, calm down and be patient. I mean, she doesn't say that. She could say that to me because I do candid pretty well. But she lovingly is just keep writing the words, Nicki. And I'm like, you're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. And so, Heather, what I know there's other ways that, help clients find peace in the waiting. What would you tell our community when they're waiting for whatever it is, a query, acquisitions, any of that?
I think for me, it's this balancing act between the why of writing and the why of publishing. And I think that's one of the things that we really have to balance and think about and know ourselves well enough that we know why we want to be published. Maybe that's because you have something to offer the world, or you have a unique perspective that other people are suffering and you can help relieve that suffering or whatever. But know your why of why you want things to get to other people, right? And then think what literally is, like, knowing the pathway, what is the best way for me to be doing that? Do I have an agent? Am I trying to get an agent? Am I doing everything I can to perfect this manuscript? If you're doing those things, then you have to say to yourself, like, okay, I'm doing it. This is what I can do, and I'm doing it. And then you have to let it go. Then on the flip side, why am I writing? Are you writing because you love it? Are you writing because you are passionate about what you're saying? Are you writing because you literally feel like you can't survive unless you write? That's how I feel. I mean, there was many, many years in between when I started doing pitch wars. I became a professional editor. I became an agent. I did those things because I had decided I just want to write for me. And I gave up on being published because I was like, I don't need that piece for myself. And then later in life, that changed again. And now I have an agent, and now I have books on sub. And so I think that, again, it changes, but I think for each of us, we need to know both the why of why we want to be published and the why of why we're writing, and then make sure that we're separating those things and doing everything we can to fulfill those two things. And if we are, then the rest of it is, I believe in God. The rest of it's up to God, in my opinion. And if you don't believe in God, then the rest of it's up to the universe or whatever it is that you think, chance or whatever. But if you can't control it, then it doesn't help you to hang on to it.
Yeah, what you just said there, Heather, kind of shed what no longer serves you. And it doesn't mean that it won't serve you again in another season of your life. And it might be something you enjoy doing, but you enjoy this more. And like Danielle says, my battery, right, can only take so much. And there's like freedom in that and clarity. I think that's great.
All right. So I think we're on people.
Yeah, our fifth P. Find a writing community. Critique partners, writing groups, wayward writers.
You
Don't
mean the
try to
writing
do
journey?
this alone. Writer's journey. Don't do this alone. Yes. Oh my gosh. Please don't. We're here. Danielle's here. We're joining, linking arms together because that's how important this all is.
Yeah.
So, what kind of people do you think writers need in their circle? What are some criteria besides just being a writer? Because sometimes I think we can get, oh, you're a writer, great. But what do you think, Danielle?
I think we no,
Daniel's shaking her.
yep, nope, I agree completely. I think that we need people who are both there to care for our stories and our goals for our stories and to care for our heart. And I remember I did a podcast episode with Lisa Gouldy, agent Lisa Gouldy, about critiques that care for the author and the story. And
Ooh.
we need people who are doing both things because our best work comes when we're our best selves, and we are just better for ourselves and everything when we're cared for. And so finding people who be there to support us in all areas in the journey. And I think that's really important. I think unfortunately we hear and experience, including myself, situations where people get critiques from writers that are really condescending or critical or harsh, or honestly just tell you to change the story to fit what they would do versus your own heart for the story. And the reality of it is that sending our book into even critique partners, not even just agents and editors, is incredibly vulnerable because we're sharing parts of our hearts and our stories. And when we are passes from agents and editors all the time, and then we have critique partners who are also laying it on, that's not beneficial for us.
Mm-hmm.
We need people that we can trust, that we feel safe enough to share these parts of ourselves with. Just like we're not going to go and hopefully not. We're not going to go share parts of our intimate life story with people who are going to be harsh and critical about it. It's the same with writing. That's a piece of our intimate part of our heart and our life. Like we so finding people that we can trust with both our stories and ourselves is I think really important.
I think sometimes that's what we want to do, but sometimes we get into that situation where the opposite happens, where
Mhm.
somebody is not caring. I think we've probably all been there. If someone's had a bad experience in critique or writing groups, how do you rebuild to that
Yeah.
point? You know, you're looking for those caring people.
Yeah.
How do you get there to rebuild? Because that takes a lot, man. When that,
It
yeah,
does. It
I've
does.
had that experience where it's like, oh, gonna take me a while to build myself back up. I have to go back up some of those
Mhm.
P's back there, pausing and
Yeah.
a bunch of them to get back to put myself in there. So, do you have
Yeah.
suggestions, Danielle, of what to
I
do when you thought you found these people and then you didn't?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sorry to hear you had those experiences.
I think almost everyone
They're
has, you
so
know, at
painful. Yep,
some
me
point.
too. They're really
Yeah,
painful.
yeah.
I think about how like for each of us we have steps that would make sense to us. Like something that we talk about in therapy is exposure. So gradual exposure is something that we talk about in the therapy world, where if something is anxiety for you at a 10, you don't start there, you start at the 1 when you slowly
Yeah.
build up. And I'm thinking about this surrounding this of, for example, if it's really, really painful and you're like, okay, I'm not ready to send off my story again to somebody, then start lower on the ladder, whether that's listening to podcasts where you just feel seen and heard and you feel like you're walking with somebody in your journey, or on social media, find the people who are the ones who are supportive and sharing encouraging things. And whether it's reading their posts or just interacting with them, even if they're not going to be critique partners, like starting to get yourself in the community again. And then you know what? Whenever you're ready to send one off and you find the opportunity, great, but do it at your pace. Don't flood yourself, is what we call it, because that's not helpful for anybody. Don't go to the 10. Think about where you are. Literally, I was just listening to the episode with Zach Von Zonk with you guys today and on a walk with my son. And even though a part of it was getting to talk with you all today, it was such a wonderful feeling to just go, yeah, I feel like these people are on this journey with me in this moment today. And I feel a bit less alone in the writing journey today to be hearing their hearts and their journeys. And I do think that things like podcasts or webinars or workshops, getting ourselves in the community in some shape or form, actually is a lot more resourcing for us than we realize. And if that's the only thing we can do right now, start there and then build up.
That's great.
That is excellent advice. I like that.
I think retreats are really good for that too, because you have at retreats, I mean, the one we had in April was so incredible. And it was just so good to see writers not even talking about their manuscripts, but just talking about their lives and connecting in a way that the other person understands you, how you're shuffling things around your writing. Or I listened to a couple people talking about these experiences with revise and resubmits that they were going through and how much of a struggle that was, and the disappointment and the things that we've all gone through. And I think that just it doesn't have to be a critique, like you said, like just connecting with people who are sharing the same type of journey is really important.
Yeah, the critiques will come, connections come. Like
Yeah.
that's what's
Yeah.
most important.
Well, let's wrap it up with the last one, persistence and perseverance.
Yeah.
Find ways to persist, keep writing stories, keep learning, keep reading, keep querying, keep submitting. Keep finding ways to persist and feel productive, even when there are many things that are out of your control.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is the difference between this healthy persistence that we want to keep persisting and being burned out?
There's a very intentional reason why I put this as the last piece of this model. Because for people like Nikki and I, like, it would be the first one,
Yes.
probably. But I
I
kind of
feel
think
so
about it.
seen, Danielle. Thank you.
I see you. You are
Thank
my
you,
type of
friend.
human.
Thank you.
I mean, truly, for a lot of us in the industry, this is the P that we think of, and this is our focal point. When honestly, my brain goes, no, 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 no. From a mental health perspective, persistence and perseverance comes after perspective, comes after presence, after pause, after patience, after people, and with all of those things. Without all of those things, persistence and perseverance will eventually not work because we'll get burned out and our nervous system will shut down. So, persistence is like you can't have it with all of these other things. Like you need all of those bricks. We need all of those bricks to build that house. We can't just try to make the house first, like I tend to try to do, without bricks and pretend like it's going to be solid. So that's why I put it last.
We're back to what's
So,
the
how do you tell the
difference
difference?
between persistence and burnout?
It goes back to pausing and listening to our body and our minds
Okay.
and our emotions. It goes back to those check-ins. We need to see how we're doing. And we really need to listen. Like we really actually need to check in and listen to what our body and mind and emotions are telling us. Persistence and perseverance can look like just behaviors. Like we can just do the grind. It can look like persistence and perseverance. I'm talking about a holistic persistence and perseverance where we're taking care of ourselves on all fronts, emotionally, physically, and mentally, so that we can actually stay towards our goal and do those things. We're not going to keep querying. We're not going to keep submitting, whatever it is, if we get burned out. Like, we're just not. Our nervous systems will tell us enough is enough, battery's gone, and you can't do anymore. And
You're clawing your way to the computer screen and propping yourself up, be burnout, huh?
And that doesn't mean that those pauses aren't important. If people get to that point, like, take the time you need. That can actually be perseverance too. That's not shaming that, but it does feel a lot better if we don't get there. And that's kind of the hope, the proactive versus the reactive.
So Danielle, how do you help creatives feel productive, even maybe when they're not getting these external wins? For those of you listening, I'm quoting in quotes, external wins.
I think that goes back to perspective for me. So for each of us, thinking about what feels like a success, like a win, how can we reframe it? Is it, well, I sent off a query, I got on sub, that's a success. Is it, I was on a podcast, whatever it is, like reframing successes in a way that are actually things within our control.
Right.
Because if we're constantly just looking for the external things that are within our control, then we're never going to feel successful and we're just going to get defeated. So finding those little wins in those moments and actually celebrating them. For example, I can nerdily show those of you who are on the video, and I can explain it for audio for the rest of you. I made myself a little sub board for my picture
Yay!
books that have been on
I
sub.
love it.
And for those of you who can't see it,
Congratulations.
I've got a woman superhero. I've got a rainbow heart, words "Be brave," and a little sticky note that my daughter wrote says "Take your daughter to
Oh,
work day," with one of my picture books. And I did that for myself. And every time I look at it, it gives me this beautiful boost of dopamine where I'm like, I'm so proud of myself because I did this. I created these stories that I love, and no matter what happens to them, I have this tangible in my hands of these are stories that have given me something and hopefully give others something eventually too. But we need to find ways where the wins feel tangible for us and we create our own wins, not published. Like, that is not a model to live by for any, because it can take years
No.
to get there.
But
And
I
I
do
think
think,
the wins have to be something that's within your control.
Yes.
yes.
and I
Sales
also
are
think it
not
goes,
within your control.
Nope. They're not within your control.
but the why, like what about before, is and that going back to that pure joy. Because I have to admit, right now, I'm on vacation. You can see this if you're watching. I have this lovely shed that I look like I'm in. It's actually a log cabin in Colorado, so it's okay. But it's
So fun.
I'm having so much fun discovering just the pure joy of writing for the fun of writing. And I think that when you go back to that and get back down to why did I start this in the first place, and you feel that joy and that happiness, then you feel replenished. And following all of these P's, I think, can help you get back to that original why. So I really appreciate this, Danielle. I think this is really helpful, and it's going to help me kind of reframe and hopefully keep my joy of my why that I'm doing too.
You know
Thank
what,
you so
Stephanie?
much.
Maybe we should add to the perseverance and persistence the anchoring yourself to your why, because I think without that, there is no persistence and perseverance. I think that's really
That is
beautiful.
true. That's true. Yeah.
Thank you all so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And
Thank you.
thank you. We're so excited to listen to you on You, Me, and the Writing Journey podcast.
Yes.
Thank
So
you.
I'm very
Yeah.
excited just for all of us to continue to lift each other up and as we walk on this journey together. So thank you so much for being with us, Danielle.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Wayward Writers.
Let's connect. Find us at waywardwriters.com, X, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook.
See you next time. Conquer your path.